Hello, Eggy peeps, and welcome to a very special episode of Here and Now with Bud and Fluff. As you can already see, there's a third person on the screen, and that's what makes this episode so special. It is our extreme pleasure to introduce a person who we are lucky to call a friend, one of the most genuine and down-to-earth people you'll ever meet, and someone whose heart and soul, even at this young age, have touched millions of people already. Ladies and gentlemen, fans of all ages, Eggy peeps, please welcome Eggy lyricist and philosopher extraordinaire Patrick Amarante. Fluff and I have been kicking around the idea of interviewing someone for a long time, and Patrick was our dream choice. We didn't think we were ready, but he presented us the opportunity, and we're proud and honored to have the opportunity to share this interview with you. And so with that, I'm going to throw it to Fluff. He's got a couple of questions to kick things off. And thank you, Patrick, for being here. Fluff, take it away, baby.
Well, Bud, as you know, so many things make Eggy special for me. Too many to list them all here, but I think about the camaraderie that we have with the fans and the members of the band right off the top of my head, and the intimate vibe of the shows, and of course the mind-bending jams. But you and I know better than anyone. It's those life-changing lyrics that'll really grab you. And we have the man responsible for so many of them here. So with that said, let's dive right in and get to know Eggy's lyricist. Pat, you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself for those who don't know, just for a minute?
Yeah. First of all, thank you guys for having me. My name is Patrick Amarante. I am a father of two. And I bring this up first and foremost because one of my little ones got me sick. So if you hear me coughing at any point, hopefully you guys can edit that out with your fancy equipment. And yeah, I've known the Eggy guys for basically as long as I've been an adult. They're some of my best friends, and to see their success grow and grow has been very special for me, just as someone watching their friends who have worked so hard for so long. It's great. It's the best.
Awesome. Yeah. You see it start out as just grinding it in garages and, as they say, or wherever, backyards. And now you've seen them grow to the point they're at now. And that really does have to be special for you. And you've been there for so much of it, and you've written pieces and parts of so many songs to this point. I think one of the things I always wonder, because I've written in my life, what does it feel like when you're at a show or you're listening to music at home and all of a sudden you hear the stuff that you wrote? Is that just, tell me about what that feels like.
Yeah, it feels, it's incredible. It's also, it's so, when I'm in the crowd, I'm in one sense, I'm there as a fan. In another sense, I'm there, those are my friends up there. So I'm it's almost, I feel like watching your favorite sports team. I love Boston Celtics, and when I'm watching them, I'm rooting for them to win, but I also really, there's a part of me that wants them to. And I know it's not competitive when they're on stage, but I just want my friends to succeed. So there's a little bit of anxiety there. And then I think because they are so awesome at jamming and they're such great musicians, that anxiety goes away, and that's when I start nodding and bopping around,
That's awesome. I think that you write in so many different ways. Of course, I'm sure we're going to talk about that later, but you just being able to hear, does it make you think more about other things that you might want to write when you hear, or is it, do you key in on your own lyrics, or are you just listening to all of them?
I feel like for me, when I'm there, depending on the song, there's other songs that Donnie or Jake have written that I might be more excited to hear because they're played less often, or they're newer, but actually it's music that inspires me to write. So I think the more and more I can get out and be at shows, the more I feel inspired and creative. There are some songs of mine that I really love to hear. Now when Leatherback comes on, it always hits me right in the feels.
Especially since Red Rocks, huh? That was, the one that, they did that huge dedication and it was so special. And
yeah,
and Rage, that one, that's meant a lot more to me since then, for sure.
yeah, absolutely. That was a crazy show to watch. Because it was actually streamed by someone in like the front row.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember from where they were sitting, I was watching and I was like, they sound great, but I wish like the crowd was bigger, But it was because they were in the VIP section, and then they turned the camera around and it showed like the whole venue. It was so cool to see. Yeah.
I just shared that video with someone that was a new person that I met today that was asking about my hat. And I got their text. I got their number and texted them. I just pulled up a quick thing on YouTube and found that Red Rocks video and sent it. And so yeah, that is that's a great one.
Very cool.
But that that inspiration. I could ask what inspires you, but obviously I think everybody was going to say the family and all that. But so like, what are you listening to right now? What's in the iPod? And maybe what are you reading for books?
Yeah. So I've been on like a really big Bruce Springsteen kick. Like over the course of the last like few months. I have a colleague actually, he's a huge Fish fan, and I've brought him to a couple of Eggy shows, and he loves Bruce Springsteen. So I was like, let me check this out. And just growing up, like the influences that I had, I wasn't shown a lot of Bruce's music, so I've been digging that. And then I have like my the artists that I circle through, like Jimi Hendrix, Joni Mitchell, The Dead. I listen to a lot of Dead, Jim Croce, and lately I've been really enjoying the Wood Brothers, Oliver Wood. I don't know if you guys heard much of their music, but
a little bit, yeah.
Interesting. Now, do you have any formal training, like literary training or anything, or poetry experience, or is this just something that naturally just wells up inside?
I would say it naturally wells up inside for sure. Yeah, no formal training. I mean, I definitely have always loved to write and read. So yeah. I'm reading this book right now. It's called The Overstory. And it's about actually I thought I might even have it next to me. It's about these like I've just read the first couple chapters, and it's about like each of the chapters are about these different trees, and it like takes place over like the first one over a century, I think. So it's pretty far out, but yeah, my mother-in-law actually recommended it to me. So
Nice.
I'm kind of curious who your lyricists are that you look up to, or maybe some that have influenced you. Not so much reading, but just specifically lyricists, because as you know, I think you are the finest lyricist of my generation, without question. So who do you look at and look up to?
So definitely Robert Hunter, probably first and foremost. I love Fish and really love Tom Marshall. Some of the people I mentioned before, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Croce, Joni Mitchell, the Jays, I went through it and I started writing down so many names that it became a little ridiculous. The Beatles, Pink Floyd, like Roger Waters and David Gilmour. I mean, I listen to a lot of music, and I love, like, one of my favorite, I was just thinking of Pink Floyd, and one of my favorite songs is Echoes. And it's just, yeah, it's pretty incredible.
You just listed, I mean, you ran down some of my favorites as well. And it's kind of no wonder, I think, that I dig your style, especially, and if you're writing for a band as well, with influences like Hunter and Marshall, and I think that it's amazing because you guys, all of you, have the ability to go either way. You can write a song as poignant as Ripple, and you can write a song like Ricky Gervais, and I think that it's amazing to have that balance. And I love that. Speaking of balance, that you really talked about such a broad base of people just now. It's not like you keyed in on any one thing. You really have taken in so much from out there, and then combined with what you feel, and then made your own place. So I think that's really amazing. That's really, really something. Do you think you model your style after anyone, or do you really think you have kind of your own style?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a style. I feel like some of the songs are so different,
And like I was just saying, they are, and I think in some of them that you do have a style. So maybe it was a bit of a trick question. I led it there, but I guess we're going to get again more into some of the lyrics that you've written, and the why and how behind it. So maybe that'll give us the answers that I seek.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you have any other questions yet, or do you want to jump to the songs?
Only just want to say that Ricky Gervais will be studied by literary scholars for years to come.
I can't take credit for that one, but
I know.
I will say when Ricky Gervais comes on, there's I don't know if you guys know about the Egg Ventures that we did a few years back, but
I have a signed copy.
Nice. Ricky Gervais became like a bad character, or a bad guy in one of the stories. It was between Ricky Gervais and Mr. Domino. So yeah, we kind of let them choose which one they wanted to.
And they went with Ricky, huh?
Yeah, they went with Ricky.
I forgot all about that book, which was one of the most fascinating things. So I got that at my first show at Pembroke, Mass. in October 2022, and it was like the second to last copy. I had no idea what I had. I was just buying merch, and went home and read it, And the next time I saw the band, I was convinced that Mike was Mike Money, because he always had the shoes, and I thought there was, and he denied it. So I don't know, but I wish I'd remembered that book when we were setting up for this, because I would have just only asked about that and nothing else.
Well,
very intriguing.
Yeah, maybe
very
intriguing. Part 2 in a couple years or something.
But to answer Fluff's question, the only comment I had about the lyrics thing was that really one of the things I notice about your stuff is there's never a throwaway line, whereas I find that seems to be in a lot of other music that I've listened to. Although in Mr. Domino, there's like a boogity doogity wiggity wiggity thing or something like that. But I mean, even that fits, But that's all I had. Yeah. So
thank you.
Well, I think it's great that you brought up Domino, because that is one of the ones that we were to talk about. And it is. It's a fun song. It's got a great kind of upbeat kind of energy to it. I'm not so sure the message is, but maybe we could talk more about that. So yeah. Let's talk about Mr. Domino, shall we? You wrote that with Mr. Jake Brownstein, correct?
Is that what it says online?
That's how it's credited, I believe.
I was asking that more because sometimes Donnie, especially from that time period. I also want to address the paper plate on my wall. My brother-in-law visited and wrote a really kind message on there. So I just, we moved into our house a couple of years ago and just still filling up the walls. So
I saw a house once where they took and they redid the whole house, and they literally put a frame around the artifact from the previous owner, whatever it was. I think it was like a cell phone that was stuck in a wall or something like that. So
very cool.
Yeah, you should leave it.
So Mr. Domino almost became the bad guy, we just learned, but he wasn't that time. Is Mr. Domino based on a real person? You don't have to tell us who it is if it is.
Oh, yes, he does.
So I would say Mr. Domino is kind of, to me, Mr. Domino is like almost like a Scooby-Doo bad guy, right? Mm-hmm. He's just bad. Whether he's a slumlord or like someone who stole money from a charity. In Mr. Domino, I imagine that Mr. Domino, the first words are his opening statement at his trial where he's being prosecuted. So first things first, who's keeping score? And the chorus, whoa ho ho, Mr. Domino. I imagine that's whether it's the judge or the jury or the prosecution, it's sort of the motif that, yeah. So that's sort of like what I imagine Mr. Domino as being.
And I keyed in when I was looking over it before our conversation on just in that chorus, never fail to tell us all you think you know, but always with the talking, but it's just for show. And as philosophers, we're kind of familiar with that kind of a concept. You can say a lot, but that doesn't actually mean that you're saying anything. So it's interesting. So and that's very villainish, I suppose, too, if you want to kind of look at it that way. And then it's funny. There's a part where you say precisely. I always think of Back to the Future. Didn't Doc Brown always say precisely? Or who is it? Was that him, or who am I thinking of? All right, maybe I'm wrong.
Doc
It's
Brown.
Back to the Future,
isn't it? Right, Doc Brown, precisely, right?
Doc Brown is one of the all-time best movie characters.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, I know it's interesting because you're kind of talking about things like dinosaurs being taken out by meteors, using their dust for gasoline, dressing their bones like Halloween. It's definitely, and then as Bud mentioned earlier, the boogity moogity boo boo bing. Tell us about boogity moogity boo boo bing.
That was one actually, like, I might have even started writing this with music. So sometimes I'll start writing a song on guitar with like a simple melody, and sometimes that simple melody will like carry itself through the song, and it's there. It may not get used, probably doesn't get used, but other times like I'll start writing it and then almost of like a proof of concept as the words come out. So I'll write down a couple lines, and then just to like, it helps me know that what I'm writing is lyrical, I guess.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I think it was a placeholder lyric, maybe. Boogity moogity.
Okay.
It might have just been what came out, and I was like, I don't know, does this stay? And it has persisted thus far. So yeah, I think it.
right? That reminds me of. No, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say when I was asking about the training in like poetry or literary stuff, I wanted to also ask if you had any musical instrument abilities or if it was pure writing. And so you just kind of answered that with the guitar, but also when you were talking about the visuals that you had with Mr. Domino, it made me really think about asking the question, do you see, when I listen to Eggy, especially live, my eyes are shut when I'm there on the dance floor. I'm getting visuals, like the imaginary scenarios that the music is creating. And I'm wondering if you turn those imaginary scenarios into lyrics, or if the lyrics come and then you kind of make the scenario afterwards,
Sometimes, sometimes a character becomes created. Like Mr. Domino, I don't even think he might have been created, come to existence when the line was first written. Like, my name is Shirley, you must know, you can call me Mr. Domino. Like, I don't actually think I sat down to write a song about someone called Mr. Domino.
Okay.
So I feel like Mr. Domino kind of created himself in that way. But definitely other songs, like Leatherback, I brought up earlier.
Yeah.
When I listen to that song now, I see a turtle like kind of treading water in the ocean, like half mile away from an island, in a tropical place, just kind of roaming, and then kind of at the end of the song still roaming out there. I also think of I want to bring up, we lost a good friend and fan in the Eggy community, Matt Perry, who that was his favorite song. It was actually his wedding song, so I do think of him when I hear that song too.
I remember that.
God bless. Yeah, for Matt Perry.
Yeah.
When my friends falls, then so do I. Talk about that line for a second.
That's we're imagining, in the first domino falls. It's almost a threat. I take it as a threat. Mr. Domino's not a good guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think
Sure.
we should go into Gentle Clown next.
Okay. I think we should too.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, so
I mean, so when that song first came out, I was so enamored by it. I had to like listen to it over and over again until I could write the lyrics out. And then you texted me and told me that I think I got a couple of the words wrong in the first line. You weren't correcting me, Pat. I know you were just kind of helping me out. But it's been a song that I've spent a lot of time thinking about. And so I want you to tell us your story just like you did with Mr. Domino. But I definitely have a couple of questions when you're done with your opening soliloquy there.
I kind of would like to hear your questions first, if that's okay.
All right. So I can't figure out, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be able to, but who they is, right? And I feel like it's either this corporate kind of socio kind of entity thing of the world and the pressures that you have on you, or it's like your girlfriend's parents, or and I can't quite figure that out. And then when you talk about you found a spot and you settled down, it makes me think of like just bebopping into a concert, and I was enamored by this band, but I shouldn't have been. I found my spot and I settled down, and then all of a sudden all this stuff came to me. So before I ramble, because I can make a million different roads to go down with this thing, I would love some insight or guidance from you on to clarify my thinking a little bit.
Oh man, are you sure you want to? You sure you want me to say it? Now I feel like I don't want to steal those.
So I'm the kind of guy that, just so you know, like if the set list is on the stage, I look at it. I don't mind knowing, because I still have the spirit of just my own imagination. So I'm not afraid to know. If you're not afraid to tell people,
no,
and by maybe afraid isn't the right word, but if you can get over your reluctance to share, by all means, please do.
For sure.
Before we let them go, though, Ben, I want to say, first of all, sure, you could look at the set list, but when was the last time what they played even matched that? So I would take up in a different episode, what is the purpose of even looking? But besides that, I think Gentle Clown too, and my question is going to kind of come in as well as the same, is like, is it part of a bigger story? Because I kind of feel like the whole album was a bigger story, was like a love song or a love story or something. And of course, the lyrics in this speak to that several times. But I'm just kind of curious, is it part of a bigger story?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, there's another song that it kind of goes with, and we already talked about it, Mr. Domino.
Okay.
Yeah, so Mr. Domino is the Gentle Clown. So
I got to put the wide angle lens on here so you can get my brain going. Boom.
so first things first.
Luke, I am your father.
First things first, who's keeping score? The last is next. Maybe that's the end. In my mind, this is this is Mr. Domino's closing statement, right, at his own trial. And then I used to walk a rope they held too tight. Bridge between a wrong and a right. I scored a spot. It sort of takes place then, and Mr. Domino's walking the prison yard before the
that's way better than what I was thinking. So
yeah, in fact,
definitely glad you shared that.
Second verse is help me out.
Old tomorrow, it's still today.
Yeah. Third.
Past is safely tucked away.
Third verse,
yeah.
Then third verse. And as always, walk well spent, whichever way
the walk well spent in the yard was a walk well spent.
Yeah, it's so.
Yeah, whichever way, my way back to town.
Yeah. So that's sort of like, it's a very different song than Mr. Domino, because actually I kind of went into it with intention, but I think even in a message that you had sent at me one point, Bud, or you had said maybe to Fluff on this podcast, you were like, I feel like there's a very strong emotional burden. I think when I wrote this song, I was really far away from family. I was living in California, it was maybe around COVID and just really missing people. And I think that manifested from those heavy feelings kind of almost went into the words or were behind them. If that makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm blown away. I'm thankful that you tied that together. I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in that, and there's a lot of food for thought there. That's just enough, like, to really create a lot of, I think, discussion.
Yeah.
Before, go ahead.
I do want to say though, those other ideas that you had before, and like sort of the feelings they evoked, they're not wrong, you know, because for me, music, like, although there may have been a story behind it, like what it evokes in someone, like it almost like makes me think about the music deeper. And I think what we feel when we listen to music is, I don't know, it's sort of like compels creativity, if that makes sense.
And we're talking about the lyrics in a vacuum too. When you add the conflict and resolution and the all the things that the band does with that, it creates different stories in my mind over and over again. You know, Today and Tomorrow is a song that it has a similar theme for me every time I listen to it. I know I don't think you helped write that one, but just talking about songs that evoke those images and stuff, you know. Gonna lose that thought. To definitely a victim of being 58 years old. But
I'll say,
yep.
Today and Tomorrow I did not write, but it's one of my favorite songs, and I don't want to discuss the lyrics necessarily, but it's a great tune. Like,
yeah, I'm right. So nor do I. I guess the thing I was trying to say was that the story that I see really has a lot to do with the music that goes with the words and you know, the set and setting, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And so while I have you on the subject of lyrics you may or may not have written, a couple of new songs are out, and I wanted to ask you if you're okay with that, if you had anything to do with Atomic Age or Whoa There.
Atomic Age, yes. Whoa There, no. Thorns, yes. Looking at Life, no.
Beaming,
yes. Paper Bed, yes. I'm trying to think of all the new ones. There's been, yeah.
Thorns just screams you to me, but that's a maybe for another time, you know. And it's, you know, something you said too, and you were talking about, like, when you're hearing the songs and you're picturing things and the imagery that it can create, just the way that music gets to us, you know, the way that. And I had wanted to ask you, Pat, you know, that does it bother you if people misinterpret your lyrics or something? But maybe we would have gotten at this point eventually to, as long as it's evoking something, I think might have been your answer. That I'm not, you know, that not really sure what exactly it is has to be 100% accurate to what your intent was in writing it, you know.
No, you're exactly right.
I think
you're exactly right. It doesn't bother me one bit. And I might get some of them wrong, to be honest with you.
And I think a great example to finish Gentle Clown, you know, is that, right, it's just us in the here and how, you know, that here's where, there is now. One of the messages that stuck with me my whole life that my father told me when I was young was be here now, you know, that be present message. And, you know, it's just I don't know, just the way you guys can just, like Bud said, there's no throwaway lines. Like, you guys write and it's bam, meaningful, powerful, amazing stuff. It's either powerful, making you feel, or it's making you think or wonder, you know, like, what's going on? Like, what is this? What's happening? And I think it's like Rosetta Stone, the last one we were going to talk about. You know, that song lyrically is probably one of my favorites of all the songs that they do.
Yeah, but I couldn't agree more. No, I had a thought and it went away again. Damn it!
We can talk about Rosetta Stone, and then
Well, I mean, on one hand, it is a name given to an ancient Egyptian tablet that was discovered and apparently helped people understand ancient hieroglyphics, and also it's the name of a famous software program that helps you learn a different language if that's what you want to do. And so really want to know, to you, Patrick, what is Rosetta Stone, and why did you want to write about it?
So I think this is a pretty personal song for me.
Excellent.
And it's almost breaks like the fourth wall, where it's like me. right, like some of the lyrics are about writing and being, so I know you specifically were wondering about, like, I think in a language I fail to speak. You know, I was sitting on the guitar, writing the music, and I was writing music, not the music that's in the song, but music, and the lyrics came out super easy, and I heard, I was thinking musically, but I couldn't speak it to the level that I needed to like write the music, you know. So it was, that lyric at least was about that frustration and sort of, you know, conquering that. I think in the song, like, I stepped off the ledge and failed to fall. Like, when I tried, I didn't fail, you know. It's,
You said frustrating. I mean, frustration almost kind of seeps out in a lot of the parts. Like, and maybe that, again, you said it's breaking the fourth wall. If maybe almost even autobiographical in a sense. You know, you're stepping off ledges and not falling. You're dreaming of concepts that don't exist. I mean, it's almost like, oh, this is getting so frustrating. Is anything gonna work out? You know, and maybe that is sometimes, I suppose, how you feel when you're, well, forget writing, just living, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. It's like,
wow.
there's this ineffable something that, like, you know, I know is there, and maybe,
Sorry about this,
I don't know,
guys.
you got something cooking?
Blood sugar.
No, yeah, just my blood pressure. It's all good. Sorry about that.
I
No, you're
mean,
good.
no, I mean, again, Rosetta Stone. I mean, I'm tired of trying. I'm trying to quit. I'm tired of trying. I'm trying to quit. That is a frustrating. I mean, maybe frustrating is not the best word, but when you said it, I kind of ran with it. It's just like, oh my God, I'm tired of trying and I'm trying to quit. You would think if you're tired of trying, quitting would be the easiest thing to do, but you can't even do that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and that, again, it's so much just life, just life. I don't know.
Yeah, but
It's just,
you know, that the beautiful
Yeah.
music in that song, though, you know, like, I really love, like, Jake really brought that one home.
well, and when Alex really lets it out on the learning to yell,
Oh yeah,
it's like, because that's it. Sometimes that's all you can do is just yell. You just want to yell and be loud, you know, and just I have a lot of fun with the song. It's just so great. Removed from the real. That's how you start it. Removed from the real, like, just right away. Just like, I don't know.
the that line, and then the too quiet to quell, when he, like, kind of whispers it, those were things I think that I heard for the first time live, or like they played to me live, where I was like, oh, this is great.
Amazing. Yeah, I can't think of any other questions I had on that one. That's just such an incredible song.
Yeah, I thank you so much.
Definitely a sing along every time it plays live, you know. But when you were talking about it, you said, you know, the lyrics came, and are there times when you just know you're spitting fire and you just show it to the guys and that you know they're going to love it? Or, all right, let me back up a minute. I write stuff, but I don't share it because it's junk, right? Like, I've put a few stupid rhymes up on Facebook from time to time, but my mom always wrote poetry, and I have stuff that is good, but I'm not going to share it. It's personal, you know. But so I want to know a little bit about, like, what was it like when you first started sharing the lyrics? Did they ask you, hey, help us write this, or were you inspired to write something and show it to them? And what was the fear of rejection and all that like, or was there any fear of rejection? So I know that's kind of a big bundled up question, but tell me about how you got to the point where you were actually comfortable writing lyrics and showing them to other people, whether they liked them or not.
Yeah, so I think the first song I ever wrote was Golden Gate Dancer, and I wrote it after a Keller Williams concert, and one of the original members of Eggy, when it was Eggy and the Delegates, Adam Soltis, him and I were lifeguards together, and I knew that he, you know, had a band, and I sent him an email. I was like, hey, check this out, and they wrote the song, and, you know, from there yeah, it just sort of course you have the fear of rejection. We actually have like a Google Drive with lots of different songs on there, and not all of them have been written. So some are from years ago, like some lyrics that are just like sitting out there. So
Do you ever go back to those?
Yeah.
Note to self: learn how to hack a Google Drive. Go ahead, sorry.
Please don't.
And so on that Golden Gate Dancer, that is one of the songs that hooked me really early, and I see that as like a modern day sugar. It's the Scarlet Begonias.
Yeah,
I feel like that was the inspiration for that song, like the Golden Gate Dancer, the flowers in her hair, all that. I just see a lot of parallels there, so I didn't know if there was anything to that or not.
Yeah, more than you know, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
You lived in California, right? So was it written when you were out there, or
no? I was in the Ocean State, Rhode Island. I went up to school in URI. Yeah.
Very cool. What'd you go to school for?
Film and philosophy.
Wow. So, I mean, it's the time is flying here. It's already been 40 minutes. I don't know, Fluff, I'm sure you probably have a couple more questions. I had one more, and that was, so I've asked this question to people throughout my life, and I'm always interested in the answer, no matter what it is or how boring it might be. But and kind of the setup matters a little bit. So if you were stranded on a deserted island, but you had everything you needed, you had your friends and your family and all that, and you could only have one band to listen to, and it couldn't be Eggy, who would it be?
Okay, so did I have access to the full library? So probably the Dead. Also, like, are we talking tropical island, or are we talking about like, are we outside Vancouver or something?
It's definitely a tropical island. It's like Robinson Crusoe, right? So you've got everything you need. It's a nice place. You got electricity, you got wood, you got the people you love around you, and so the music has to be for them too. So
they'll be okay with the Dead. Yeah.
All right, cool.
I feel like there's enough there that my son would be really, really upset we weren't choosing Blippi, which is what, I don't know if you guys know Blippi.
No. Gonna learn tonight.
No, you don't do it to yourself. Although Excavator is a bop. That's a great. Yeah, life with toddlers is it's pretty crazy.
I get the grandkids, so I get to rent mine for overnights here and there, but
that's the way to do it. Yeah. That's the way to do it.
Yep, definitely.
I'm on an 18-year lease, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns into a lifetime plan, believe me.
That's fine.
Yeah, so all right, Fluff, what would be your band? What would be your desert island band?
I'm gonna go with the Grateful Dead as well. I think it's and it's funny because one of the things I'll do when I'm hyping Eggy to people is lean on some of the bands that they cover, because as you and I have discussed, they're not only phenomenal bands, but when you pick almost any other group of guys their age and look at what they're playing and covering, it's not the Grateful Dead, it's not Little Feat, it's not Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, it's not the band, and so yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I can't get enough of is their depth of what they've obviously been exposed to, and what they have an appreciation for, and the Grateful Dead. I mean, I would say, because I haven't actually gotten to see Eggy perform Pink Floyd live myself, that when they do the Grateful Dead, it's my favorite thing that they cover. But should they ever cover Pink Floyd when I'm at a show, that will become my favorite thing. Because they've done Pigs a couple times, and they do it like the album. I mean, it's like so perfect, it's ridiculous. So thank you for that.
I have 3 different ones. Just saying.
3 different ones. Awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, so and really Pink Floyd might be a close second on that question, because they're one of the most bands that's ever. No one's blown me away as musically as probably Eggy and Pink Floyd and the Grateful Dead in my life. and fish. So,
Well,
but
thank
yeah,
you for answering that.
I think I don't even who's yours.
Well, it's an interesting question. So, honestly, the Dead used to be, right? But I listened to them so much that I decided to choose, until Eggy came along, Blues Traveler. You know, they're kind of niche, but they really speak to me a lot. Their lyrics are I've met Johnny Popper a couple of times, and Sean Kinchler, the guitarist, and I've been not following them, but been, you know, with them for a long, long time, seen them a bunch of times. And so, yeah, they would be it. You know, I think they've got a body of work that, you know, could span quite a time. So the volume of work is definitely a consideration. So they don't have as much to choose from, but they do have a, you know, 30-year catalog at this point. So
exactly, you have the live shows too.
Let me just say thank you very, very much for finding the time as a busy dad, as you said, and say hello to your beautiful family for us and all the Eggy fans that are going to tune into this. I think I speak for all of them when I say we love you dearly, and we thank you for your sharing your heart and soul with us. And we owe you a lifetime of gratitude for that. So thank you very much for being here. And with that, Fluff, Patrick, Eggy peeps, we love you all. Peace out. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
What he said.